Hi, and welcome back to the kitchen here at Gulf Coast State College in the Advanced Technology Center. I'm Chef Paul, and you know what? We're going to have some fun today. I love cookies. Unfortunately, I love them too much. Sometimes, though, it's fun to try something interesting and different. You know, you go home and you don't know what you want to make, but you want to make something, and you start looking at ingredients. And if you've watched the video on Caesar salad, you'll know that that's the way that Chef Caesar Cardini came up with the Caesar salad. He looked at all the ingredients he had, and he just simply invented something. So I got this idea. I love chocolate chip cookies. The classic Toll House recipe is one of the best there is. But what if we could make it better? What if we added, I don't know, Oreos to it? Nutter Butters? Maybe pretzels? Maybe potato chips? Peanut butter chips? So what I'm going to make for you today is what I call trash cookies. And they're a lot of fun. Your kids are going to love them. Your friends are going to love them. They don't last long. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, I'll put up a recipe at the end of this video so you'll be able to see what it all looks like. The important thing is this is a creaming method cookie. So we start with butter. In this case, it's 1 pound of unsalted butter. Please use unsalted butter when you're making most of your cooking recipes. It's really important, especially in baking. I need to cream this butter with our sugars. Now, for this type of cookie, we have two different kinds of sugar. We have granulated sugar and then packed light brown sugar. You can use dark brown sugar if you like. It's got a little higher molasses content, but that's fine. Now, to make this easier, I usually take half of my sugar, in this case 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, and I put that in the bottom of the mixer. Then I put in my butter. Now the butter, you really want to let it sit out and get softened to room temperature. It's going to make this go much faster, and then just tumble that in, okay? Remember, bakers are cheap, so don't waste any. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my 1.5 cups of packed brown sugar. It's really important to pack the brown sugar. Because of the high moisture content, it really stays kind of fluffy and separate. So to get an accurate measurement, you want to make sure you always pack your brown sugar. Drop that in. Now, I've got our KitchenAid 8-quart mixer. I'm going to turn it on low to start with. The creaming method is one of the 3 basic mixing methods that all of my students learn. Biscuit method, muffin method, and creaming method. The creaming method is a critical one to learn because what we're doing is we're mechanically aerating the butter. And what that basically means is we put our fat in with the sugar as that beater, and we always want to use the flat beater bar, never the whisk for creaming. As it comes around and smashes the sugar against the side of the bowl, it forces air into the butter and it lightens and softens the butter. It can actually take up to 10 minutes to cream butter. So what we want to make sure to do is let this go nice, and I don't ever want to turn it up over about 1/3 speed. What I'm trying to do is get this to mix and fully aerate. Okay, while that's going on, you can see my table shaking like a galloping horse here. Let's talk about our other ingredients. Flour, and I'm using all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour is noted or called all-purpose flour because of the amount of protein, and that it has not as much protein in it as bread flour, but a little bit more than cake flour. It can be used really interchangeably. Eggs, and you want to use large eggs, okay? Grade A large eggs. The issue is an egg is between 1.75 and 2 ounces of egg that contains about that much. If we use a different size egg, then we've actually changed the recipe. So the recipes that I'm going to be working with and the ones that you're going to hear from me, when it calls for an egg, I'm using a grade A large egg. Eggs actually come in 6 sizes, from peewee, small, medium, large, extra large, and then jumbo, okay? We've got salt, of course. You have to have salt in your product. And then we need something to help it rise. And in this case, we're using baking soda. Vanilla, can't be without good vanilla flavoring. And then I got all the extra stuff that we're just going to play with at the end. So as this is creaming, what I want to do is probably about halfway during the creaming process, I'm going to take and I'm going to scrape it down with a spatula that I've got right over here. Invest in the good high temp spatulas. They really are excellent. They're not expensive, and it's nice to have something with a long reach so that you can scrape around. My product is starting to get nice and fluffy here. The things that you want to do is make sure to just scrape it off the bowl, off the beater, and get all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. We're almost done, actually. Because it has brown sugar in it, it's never going to get quite as fluffy as it would as if it just had white sugar in it. The reason being is the molasses content that's present in the sugar. So we're going to get this and we're going to start beating this up. Now, this is going to cause a little bit of an issue. How do I get this in here without making a mess? Well, I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about eggs. One of the more important considerations when it comes to eggs is how to crack an egg. All right? I would like y'all to realize that as an agricultural product, this egg, I want you to go ahead and consider it to be dirty. The outside of the egg can be contaminated with things like the salmonella bacteria. So when you crack an egg, I'd like you to do it like this from now on. Don't crack an egg on the side of a bowl or on the side of a glass, because all you're doing is shoving that shell, which may be contaminated, inside the egg, thus contaminating the egg. What I'd like you to do, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my mixer off, if you'll simply tap it on the table, and then if you want to use two hands, open it up. And that will ensure that you don't get any mess in your eggs, that you don't contaminate the rest of them. Simply tap and open. We'll do the last two. Now, I've got my stuff nicely creamed. I'm going to add my egg slowly at this point, okay? Turning it down to and I'm going to add my egg slowly, and by that meaning one at a time. And you know what? I don't want you to worry if you get a little eggshell in the bottom of your container, okay? Because if you let this sit and slowly pour it, the eggshell will stay in the very bottom. Do me a favor, don't ever crack your eggs directly into what you're making. If you've got an egg that has a bad shell or a blood spot, it'll get in your product, okay? And a tiny blood spot does not mean anything. There's nothing wrong with that. So, we're going to add these in slowly. You want to add them in slowly so that it gets a full chance to incorporate. That's really important. Now, I'm going to get all 4 of these eggs in, and then I'm going to scrape this bowl again. I want to scrape it so that I can make sure that there's no patches of unmixed ingredients at the bottom of the bowl. Really important to do. All right. So there's my last egg. I'm going to let those mix for just a few more seconds. And then I'm going to come in, I'll turn it off, lower my bowl again, and then I can just simply go around the bowl, making sure that I get everything scraped off. Easy as can be. All right. Raise it up. Next, I'm going to add any liquid that might be in this mix. For this, the only other liquid is my vanilla. And I'm going to go ahead and add my vanilla and set it aside. Now what I'm left with are my dry ingredients. And for this, my dry ingredients happen to be flour, salt, and baking soda. If you want, you can actually measure all these 3 together and then add them in or sift them in. You don't really need to sift this for cookies. So I'm going to go ahead and add this together. My baking soda, and baking soda is a leavener. It's what makes things rise. So now I'm going to add this in a little slowly, okay? Because I don't want to make a mess. So I'm just going to tip some of this in. Now a real easy way to do this is if you pour all this onto a sheet of parchment paper, you can make the parchment paper like a big funnel and simply fold it up and pour it in. So I've got about 1/3 of my dry ingredient in there. I'm going to raise this up, mix it together. I can already see it looks like cookies. It smells like cookies in here. At this point, if you're careful, while it's gently running slowly, you can just start tipping your flour in. And if you make a little mess, don't worry about it. Almost. Tap the rest in. All right. So basically what we have is plain cookie dough, a plain chocolate chip cookie dough, as a matter of fact. So if we're going to make chocolate chips, well, we need to put chocolate chips in it. For this, I think I'm going to do it all by hand so you guys can really see what's going on when I do this. So I'm going to grab a glove, and it's really nice to keep some plastic gloves around. That way you're not contaminating. Even though I scrubbed my hands really well before I did this, I can take and then I can, sometimes it's easier just to use your fingers to scrape things off the beater bar. And get that all off, making sure we get every little scrap, because bakers are cheap. We want to make sure that we're frugal. I'll set this aside. All right. Now I can take my spatula and simply scrape and make sure I don't want to leave any dry spots. It's really important not to leave any dry spots. All right, now for the fun. So I think we need chocolate chips, of course. Got to have some chocolate chips in our chocolate chip cookies, so about 1.5 cups. Looks good to me. So now I've got, okay, pretty much our basic chocolate chip cookies. But, you know, I don't think we ought to stop there. How about we add some peanut butter chips? Why not? I mean, chocolate and peanut butter are wonderful together, so why not add those? But you know, I don't think that's quite enough. How about some Oreo cookies? Mini Oreos. We'll just get those in there and try to break them up a little bit. Nutter butters. You know, I really like Nutter butters too, but you know what? I'm going to show you. You can actually crush these up. If you've got a second bowl for your mixer, you could take them and actually put them in the mixing bowl and crush them, or you could take them and put them in your food processor and crush them up. So let's put some Nutter butters in there. Yeah, why not? All right. But I think, you know, what they really need is some salt. There's nothing like that positioning of salt and sweet together. So, how about pretzels? Yeah, I think so. We'll add some pretzels to it. Give it a little bit of salty flavor. I think it needs something more than that. How about, I love potato sticks. As a kid, these were one of my favorite snacks. We'll crunch them up and we'll add a few. We'll add them all. Potato sticks. All right. Now, so yeah, it's kind of a mess. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to make them even messier as we tray them up and get ready to bake our trash cookies. All right, so we're back with traying up our trash cookies. I'm using half sheet pans with parchment paper. And you know what? You can reuse parchment paper over and over again. So again, be frugal. What I'm going to do though is, I like potato chips. And for this I'm using just the thin, crispy potato chips. And I think we need a little extra something on these cookies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cookie dough. It's a dough. It's not really a batter. A batter has more moisture in it. And I'm going to take what's called a disher. This is a disher. It's a number 20 disher. And what that number 20 means is that 20 scoops would equal 1 quart. Okay? So I'm going to come in, and instead of putting this on the tray, I'm going to put it in the potato chips. And I'm going to roll this little dough ball over in the potato chips, and I'm going to put it right here on it. So now I've got a ball of cookie dough rolled in potato chips. So we're going to do that a few times. These are going to be enormous cookies. I probably should have gotten a smaller disher. And you know what? Probably for the next pan, I will get some smaller ones because these are going to be really enormous cookies. But you know what? You're not going to eat more than one or two anyway. So we'll do some here. And again, we're looking at trying to find ways to bring something new to the kitchen. Have some fun in the kitchen. Let your kids cook with you. Show them how to use the oven safely. Show them how to use kitchen appliances safely. This way, they're going to become a little bit more self-sufficient. And that's going to help you down the road too. All right? So that all their meals aren't just top ramen and energy drinks. So I'm going to put about a dozen of these on this one. We're going to throw it in our convection oven. I've got our convection oven set to 340 degrees. I've got it set down a little bit just because convection ovens, because of the way they cook, will actually cook faster than a normal oven. All right? So we're going to finish these up. I'm going to finish these up, and I'm going to put them in the oven. And when we come back in just a few minutes, we're going to have trash cookies. And I may have some guests here to help us try out our trash cookies. Okay? Stay tuned. So we've made trash cookies. They even look good. A little trashy. They're really hot. They're really soft. I'm going to take them right off. You want to make sure you get them off the cutting board, off your cookie pan pretty quickly because this pan is still hot. And if we don't get them off quickly, this carryover heat is going to continue to cook these cookies, and we don't want that to happen. They look good, but I don't know. I think I need some help. Come on in, guys. So the guests joining me today are here doing some digital media camps during the summertime, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to eat some cookies. I'm going to make sure you guys get to see the recipe when we're done. You know what? Go bake some cookies, all right? So this is Chef Paul and all the guys saying thanks a bunch, and make sure to check back with us again.